All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. We are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for introducing Everbright, the next edition in our Freedom Forever webinar series. Let's go ahead and go over the agenda for today. For this webinar, I'm actually going to pass the mic over to Rob Angel, who will cover introducing Everbright and the products overview. Then we have Nick from Everbright with us here to go over the portal and process for Everbright. We'll wrap up with Rob for a few final comments, and then we will end with a Q&A session. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass the mic now to Rob Angel for introducing Everbright.
All right. Thanks, Mark, and thanks to everyone joining on the call today. We are very excited to be opening Everbright as a finance option to supplement our already great third-party ownership options that we have with Sunrun. Before we get into the products, I'd like to open with a few words about Everbright, introduce them a bit, talk about why we're partnering with them and what this means for our existing finance partners. For those of you unfamiliar, Everbright is a fairly new to market financing provider backed by NextEra Energy. I'm sure some of you know NextEra. They own various companies, including Florida Power and Light, as well as other clean energy production entities that collectively make NextEra one of, if not the world's largest generators of renewable energy. They are publicly traded, and they have a market cap of roughly $140 billion. And yes, that's billion with a B. So they're a very well-established player. They have deep pockets, and they're coming to the market with some really great products and very aggressive pricing. In some cases, you will find that the pricing is upwards of $1 per watt better than the competition. So very exciting stuff. For those of you who have used the site and design and proposal tool in the past, you'll be very familiar with Everbright's platform, which is built on Scion. They've essentially taken that tool, made various improvements, and added their own financing products. It's a very simple and easy to use tool. So I'm confident that the learning curve will be quite short for most of you. As I said, the pricing of their products is very aggressive, and we're excited to be offering them in both some utilities and markets that Sunrun is in currently, as well as new states and new utilities that Sunrun does not have a product in today. So while we love Sunrun and will continue to be a very close partner of theirs, we of course want to pass along the best products to all of you and put you in the position to sell as much solar as possible in the market. Now, as stated, this is currently a limited partnership, meaning that Everbright will only be available in select markets to start. So let's take a look at where they'll have coverage. In Arizona, Everbright will be live in SRP, where we currently do not have a Sunrun product. In Arkansas, likewise, with no Sunrun, we will be live in the entire state. Quick asterisk that, of course, all utilities means utilities that Freedom is active in and that allow third-party ownership financing. In Connecticut, we'll have coverage in Eversource. Everbright's product will have a roughly 60 cent per watt pricing improvement over Sunrun, depending on the rate and the escalator option. The entire state of Maine will be live where Freedom covers. National Grid in Massachusetts will be live, where you'll see the biggest pricing improvements over Sunrun. PSE&G in New Jersey, and the entire state of Ohio. Other utilities we expect to be live soon include the smaller municipal utilities in Arizona, various utilities in Colorado, in Illinois, and Massachusetts, as well as some larger utilities in Texas, including El Paso Electric, AEP, CoServe, some of the bigger ones that Sunrun does not currently cover, in addition to hopefully many of the smaller, again, municipal and local utilities, cooperative utilities in Texas. CPS and Austin Energy do not offer third-party ownership options, of course. So for those of you wondering, we will not be live in those utilities, but still many others in Texas. So some very exciting stuff here and great coverage and pricing improvements that's going to put everybody on this call in the best position to put some more glass on the roof. All right, so I'd like to now introduce and hand it over to Nick Regenball at Everbright. Nick will be our key account contact as we get everyone up and running here, and has been very helpful in getting us started over the past few weeks. He knows his stuff very well, and he's going to walk us through Everbright's products, underwriting, how to sell a deal from start to finish in their tool. And he's going to be available moving forward for support, extra office hours, likely some local trainings, and really hold our hand as everyone here gets familiar with their product. Before I hand it off, a couple of quick housekeeping items. First, Nick is going to briefly touch on a couple of products that Freedom won't have access to. So just keep an ear out for that. Make sure you hear which ones we will and won't have. Secondly, all of the documents he's going to show you today will be uploaded in the Sales Resource Center. We'll put them in the Everbright folder within the Financing and Payment Options tab. So you can go and check those out there later and use those as a resource moving forward. And lastly, we get this question on every webinar. Yes, the webinar will be recorded and made available in the video library later today for you to listen to again. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Nick. Nick, please take it away.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Rob, and insight into who we are over here at Everbright. I just want to be the first from me and my team to just say how excited we are to kick this partnership off, hit the ground running, and just knock it out of the park with you guys. I'm going to spend the next couple minutes just going over the suite of products that we're going to be offering with this launch and what makes them Everbright specific. We'll start off with our Ever Easy product that is going to be a lease that's going to be offered in Arizona only. So for all of you Arizona sales reps looking for a TPO product to offer your homeowners, it's here. The Ever Fixed and Ever Flex products are going to be your more traditional PPAs. I'll get into the specifics of that very shortly, but if you see fixed or flex, just think PPA. The Power Shift is going to be our California-specific NEM 3.0 product. We won't be covering that for the rest of the call, but we'll cross that bridge if it comes in the future. The most important part about this slide is just noticing the plus option. If you ever see one of our products with a plus written at the end of it, that is with battery storage. So the Ever Fixed Plus product would be a PPA with battery backup. The Ever Fixed, like I had mentioned, is going to be your very traditional purchase power agreement, no upfront cost, system maintenance, repairs, production guarantee from Everbright. That homeowner's monthly bills are going to be based upon the annual production of that solar system. Whatever rate is being offered to that homeowner at the point of sale on their contract, multiply it by the yearly production, divide it by 12. That will be their fixed monthly bill every single month. It will go up every year if there are any applicable escalators that were sold at that time as well. The Ever Fixed Plus product is, you guessed it, the same as the Ever Fixed plus battery backup. The Ever Flex, the biggest difference there is that the monthly payments are variable based upon the system's production. This will follow a little bit more closely with how the homeowner is currently paying for their electricity, where monthly payments in the summer are going to be higher when they're producing more and lower in the winter when they're producing a little bit less. Getting into some really high-level underwriting, just applicable property types, single families, duplexes, condos. We do allow mobile homes. We would just require some supporting photo evidence that it is on a permanent foundation. Second properties and ground mounts are also allowed. Some ineligible properties, rentals, nonprofits, co-ops, and commercials. And we do also allow second systems as long as it adheres to any utility requirements that are, specific to them. For the credit qualifications, all credit initiations are going to be soft inquiries. They will never convert to hard inquiries. That initial credit approval does expire 60 days after that first decision is issued out. Joint applicants are acceptable and allowed if that title holder does not meet our requirements. The only requirement for the joint applicant is that they have a vested interest on the property. So if there are any adult children, grandparents, and uncles, so on and so forth. In regard to credit requirements, our floor is 650, but as you'll see, as they step up above the 700s range, the credit requirements do get a little bit less cumbersome. Feel free to take a screenshot of this to kind of reference in the future, or I did send this deck out to Rob. He might be circulating it with your leadership after this call. The biggest part to mention just about the credits as well is, of course, PPAs don't affect any of that homeowner's DTI. I did also include here just a list of some adverse actions that you could take based upon any results that you could experience in the future, whether it's conditionally approved, no match, or errors. We always provide you with some support on how to combat those issues and overcome them. Moving on to title requirements, the most important part here is that the name must match exactly how it's written on the title of the home. So no nicknames, no Pete's, Peters. I myself am a Nicholas Regenball, usually introduce myself as Nick. Very likely that I would be entered as the contact as Nick Regenball. I would sign contract as Nick and get a reject would be rejected because it doesn't match exactly. So let's be very specific with making sure that we pull title specific information. We do also allow ownership by trust or LLC, S Corp, and C Corp. Very similarly, make sure that it's matching exactly how it's written, running credit, signing with that name exactly. And we would just require any supporting document that they are a trustee or that they have ownership over that LLC. Some agreement information, 25 years is the length of the PPA. Escalators vary based from anywhere from 0% to a 3.9%. They're going to be a little bit more state specific, but it's very likely it's going to fall into the bucket of what you're used to selling in your market. Throughout the length of that 25 years, the homeowner does have the option to transfer that system if they are selling their home. That new homeowner that's purchasing the home, if they don't meet the credit requirement, can pay $250 as an exemption fee. That original homeowner also does have the option to purchase their system outright or prepay the remaining service term. That homeowner also does have the option to prepay their solar system anytime after that 6th anniversary date of their solar system. Most important part to mention here is just end of term options. The system will automatically renew up to 10 times after that 25th year. That homeowner does have the option to purchase it, like I had mentioned, or Everbright has the option to remove the system at no cost. There is no upfront payments for any of the TPO products. EverFixed, monthly payments are based upon annual production. EverFlexed, monthly payments are based upon the monthly production of the system. Most important part here to note is just the ACH payments. I always encourage all homeowners to sign up for ACH payments when they're signing up for their contracts. This can help them avoid an additional charge of $7.50 for a check processing fee if they do not do that. The payments will be reoccurring on the same date. They will be issued out 30 days after the in-service date of that solar system. Moving forward to some really quick system design requirements. Minimum systems are 2 kW, max is going to be 30. The most important part about our platform is just our savings rule. If you're selling a solar-only product, we require that that homeowner saves at least $1 in their first year. This should align very closely with the Freedom Forever process of us just wanting to offer a really great product, help the homeowner save some money, and do something good for the environment at the same time. I've listed here a couple different support options as well. You can feel free to call us, send us an email, or there is a blue live chat button at the bottom left-hand corner on your platform, which I'll show you very shortly. That live chat button, if it's being utilized during operational hours, does have a live agent at the other end of it. They're more than happy to help you with any questions that you may have, whether they're credit requirement questions or a little bit more tedious things like changing contact information, so on and so forth. Our welcome call phone number is listed here as well. Those lines are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 days a week. If that homeowner is not eligible or not able to complete that welcome call at the initial point of sale, you can also feel free to send us an email with that customer's name and information with a date and specific time window, a 2-hour window, when they would like to receive a call from us. We will complete an outbound welcome call. We'll ask them the questions, we'll record it, and we'll upload it for you. That welcome call script is going to be listed on the last page of any of your agreements, so you can feel free to review that welcome call script with the homeowner, get out any questions, answer anything before completing that call. Lastly, I did just want to provide a really quick visual aid for you as well. Like I said, please feel free to take a screenshot or wait until that deck comes out. It should be circulated after this meeting. I just find this to be a very helpful visual aid just to quickly identify some of the key aspects that separate our different products here. All right, so now for the moment I'm sure we've all been waiting for, let's take a quick dive into the platform and take a look at a customer going down a very happy path. Before we kind of log in, I just want to take note of a couple different URLs that we're going to have access to up here. So looking up at my screen up top here, first and foremost, you're going to have access to the engine.goeverbright.com URL. Now that URL is going to be your customer facing, customer driving. That is your workhorse platform. That's where you're going to be spending almost 99% of your day. Every action that you take in there will be customer facing, contracts sent, credits initiated, so on and so forth. You will also have access to another URL called mirror.goeverbright.com. Mirror is kind of like your virtual sandbox. So feel free to log in there. It's going to look identical to your regular engine platform, but in there you can go ahead and create test jobs, run different designs, like test out your products, really just kind of play around, consider it like your virtual sandbox, if you will. Nothing in that platform is going to be customer facing. You can go in there, try to play with it, break it, if you will. Everything in there will be reset after 24 hours. But just remember, engine is driving your car. That's your business right there. Mirror, just taking a quick look. I myself am logged into a different URL just for the purpose of giving this demonstration so that we can run through, log in, and take a look at a quick job. So once we get logged in here, first thing that it's going to show you, the platform is going to take a really quick look at your pipeline. Your pipeline is going to populate for all jobs that are either specific to you, that you've created, so on and so forth, all of that good stuff. It's going to be listed down here. You do have access to filter that pipeline to find something a little bit more specific that you're looking for, either by the milestone stage that it's in, the contract status, quote generated, the type of quote that was generated, so on and so forth. Before we get into any very specific details, two very important things that I want us to take a look at. First is the settings gear in the very top right-hand corner. I want us all to go in there, and the first thing that we do when we get into this platform is we go click the settings gear, go into user settings, and then go under your notifications. All notifications are automatically going to be defaulted to off. Go through here, toggle on the notifications that are important to you and your job description, documents that are being executed, credits that have been approved, so on and so forth, milestone comments, all the good stuff. Toggle them on, make sure that you're getting the correct responses for your business. Once your notifications are set, I also want us to take note of this little drop-down carrot in the very right-hand corner. There are two very useful tabs that are in here. So first is the Everbright training tab. In this tab, you will find different spec sheets, PDFs to, just like how-tos, uploading install photos, what's about our EverFix PPA, kind of the ins and outs of it. And then there's also quite a few different videos listed down here as well that will kind of give you a quick little 5-minute walkthrough on like creating new designs, qualifying homes, and all that good stuff. Outside of that training portal, there is also this support button. This support button is more or less your Everbright Google. If you have a quick question that you need an answer to, open up that support button, use the chat button or the search button in the top right-hand corner, type in, credit. It'll open up your PPA credit specifics, all that good stuff. You want to know about property types, all of that good stuff is listed in there. Also on this page as well, there is a training request hyperlink. This training request hyperlink could allow you and some of your teammates to join in and even create some additional trainings that you may feel like you would want, require, and or need throughout your time here with Everbright. Outside of that, I did also promise that I would show you earlier, there's this lovely little live chat button in the bottom right-hand corner. This live chat button, assuming that it's during our operating hours, will have a live agent on the other end of it. Just type in your first name, last name, email, and phone number and the reason for the chat. One of our agents will respond if it's during working hours to help you out, answer your questions, and kind of walk you through anything that you could possibly need. So those are just some very broad overview of some general help options that we have here in the platform. But that being said, let's go ahead and get started and go through a very happy customer and a very easy job. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to click on that lovely little blue lead button. The first phase that it opens up is, of course, the address. We got to know where we're working. So I'm going to pick a nice little New Jersey address. Woodlawn. Yeah, in Bridgewater, New Jersey. You'll see that the addresses populate based upon best guess. Go ahead and click on it once it's on there. Once we have the address entered, you'll see that it drops the pin right on top of the home. In the event that the pin is not on top of the home, you can click the override button, manually adjust either the latitude and longitude to slightly move that pin over, or you can just pull it from Google Earth and enter it right there. I would say if you're just doing a quick little manual adjustment, my best recommendation is only move that 4th decimal place right there. But pin is on the home, so we don't have to worry about that. We can go ahead and move on to the contact phase. Enter in the first and last name for your customer. Ours is a Mr. Steven Gomez. He is our lovely little straw man that we have created for ourselves so that we can go ahead and do some of these demos. Enter in that homeowner's email address and phone number and click the save button. Keep in mind, please, and remember, it has to be very specific to what's on the title of their home. So can't be Steve Gomez, must be a Steven. If we know that Steven Gomez has bad credit off the jump, we can go ahead and create a new contact up here from the top right-hand corner as well, and enter in that secondary contact so that we can have them qualify for credit and be on contract at this time as well. But we're going to assume that Mr. Steven Gomez has very good credit because we're on the happy path right now. now that we have our name and our contact in, we notice that we have access to some of these other phases along the project timeline. So we can jump to usage, project, or the qualifications tab if we wanted to go ahead and qualify Mr. Stephen Gomez before going too far. But we're on the happy path, so we're just going to keep it moving down the list here. We're going to go to utility, and we're going to see that the utility has been populated based upon GenAbility as the third-party source that we use to get our aggregated data. So it's pulling information from that homeowner's nearby, that homeowner's neighbors and such on how they consume electricity, how they're paying for electricity, so on and so forth to create this usage profile for him. If it's not correct, you can click the drop-down window. PSE&G will be the one that's sus for us, though, and it will have the residential schedule in there as well. Go ahead and get Mr. Stephen Gomez's electricity bill, review it with them, show it to them, help them understand how they're paying for electricity, and then you can go ahead and enter their historical usage right here. So you can enter monthly kilowatt hour usage, or you can toggle it to a full annual. You can go for a full CSV upload, or you can go by monthly payments. I always recommend going monthly historical usage. Grab it. It is the most correct, most raw data that you can find. Enter it, apply the changes. If for some reason you applied those changes and you see that the payments aren't looking quite right, again, we are consuming GenAbility. So you can come up here to the rate schedule option on the top, click on the custom rate option, and you can manually enter it. Do the math with your homeowner, 115 divided by 962, enter it right up top over there. But we're on the happy path. Mr. Stephen Gomez is looking pretty correct, so we're going to leave it on residential for now. Not going to do any math today, and we're going to slide on down. You do have the ability to add usage in our platform as well. Be careful, though, and remember the utilities that we are operating in. PSE&G, for example, we can't go over 100% of that homeowner's historical data. But if we were operating in a different different state with different utilities that allowed, let's say, 120% offset, and we knew that Mr. Stephen Gomez was getting a special edition, we can add that to his profile as well. So if we knew that he was getting an electric vehicle, we can toggle that on. We can choose the model, charger type, amount driven, so on and so forth. It'll take all that into consideration. If we're in an area and we wanted to just add a lump sum, we know that the ceiling was 120% of that homeowner's historical offset. We can build it to 100 and add an extra 20% and apply the changes. We're all good to go there. But that won't be too necessary for us in New Jersey specifically. So we can go ahead and move on from there, and we can worry about that for some of our other states in the future. That being said, moving right along to the project phase. First thing we're gonna see here is we're gonna see our home populate and pop up right over there. But what I want us to all take note is just the Project Sunroof access and its overall availability. Project Sunroof is always going to be in the bottom right-hand corner of your project tab. If it's on and it's available, you will see that lovely little orange home right in the middle of it that's showing you, yep, we're gathering the data, we're taking the shade study, it's all right there for you. So we are green, we are gravy, we are good to go. It is a happy customer. If we have Project Sunroof data, we can go ahead and click the Launch Auto Design button. This auto design button, the first thing that we'll do is click the template that we have selected. Your leadership and your design team will put together different state-specific templates for different products, and these templates will gather in everything from, whether it's offsets for different sides of the home or, targeted offsets, all that good stuff. And you can click that template and go ahead and click the Generate button. That's going to outline your roof plane, drop some modules on top, and then calculate, that system's generation, its overall size, and then the offset versus the homeowner's historical usage. All of that can be found as long as we have that sunroof access. If we did not have that Project Sunroof data, this would be kind of grayed out, and it would say no Project Sunroof data, and we'll cross that bridge when we're not talking about a happy customer. I'll probably hand that off to Rob or something like that. But we're in the happy scenario. That project is designed, and we can see more, now that we have a nice design. We do have a couple new buttons over here and a whole new menu that opened up. From this menu, we can go ahead and toggle the selected modules that we want to present to the customer and the inverters. We can also make sure that the azimuth and the tilt are looking good. In the event that it didn't toggle just correctly, I would highly recommend you use this little compass at the bottom here, just to make sure that it's aligned with the bottom of that roof plane, to make sure that we're getting the correct azimuth. Assuming that, we can get it lined up just right, then that will go ahead and it will toggle over here. The azimuth will update, but if we wanted to manually update that, we can enter that here as well. We can also very easily and very quickly add panels from this new menu. We can remove panels. We can add new setbacks if we had to put in, fire safety setbacks on two of these different ridge lines. We can also move the entire array if it just didn't look just quite right. It was just like maybe a couple inches off. That's all good. Any changes that you make throughout the process, just remember to go ahead and come down here and click the green calculate button. If you wanted to go through a couple different designs with your homeowner, we generated this one, they're happy with it, they like the offset, but maybe they don't love the aesthetics of it being on the front of the home. If you take a look at the top over here, we do have a plus project button. You can go ahead and you can click the plus project button. You can go ahead and generate an entirely new design. So we can go ahead and let's say we want to manually do this one. We'll design something on the back of the home so that we can compare and contrast with the homeowner, whether they care more about efficiency or aesthetics. But we're a happy customer right here. We're fine with the solar on the front of the home, so we can keep it moving. If we wanted to add batteries or anything like that to this project, just close out this array and come down to the storage option. We can click the storage option, select the battery that we want to move forward with, and then go ahead and select the purpose. This is a backup battery only. We'll select the purpose, and then we can click the calculate button. Once we select the calculate button, that'll apply that battery to the project. But Mr. Stephen Gomez isn't too concerned about having backup in his area, so we're good to go with that. Lastly, if we wanted to add a new array, there is a green little add array button to say, like, if we wanted to design in the back of the home as well as the front, if we needed a larger offset, we can do that as well. While we're here as well, we do have a couple different options over here with icons to the top right. First and foremost, what I want us to all see is this little bell icon. This bell icon is your best friend. It more or less just tells you whatever you're working on, the eligible products that you can go ahead and quote and show that homeowner. So based upon my designs and some of the usage, this shows me that Mr. Stephen Gomez is eligible for the PPA products. In the event that there was a product that I wanted to show Mr. Stephen Gomez, but it wasn't showing up under my quotes, I can always click on that little icon and it'll tell me in red why I can't show him that project. So if I wanted an EverFixed Plus project, I can go scroll down to find EverFixed Plus, and it'll show me right here and say, you don't have a battery attached to your project, so go ahead and add one, and then you can go ahead and quote this. It's super helpful. It's very convenient. You can always reference it. There is an info button as well that shows you the different job summaries so that you can always quickly reference it no matter what phase you're in. There's a light CRM to leave notes, and then a section for you to go ahead and add documents as well. We have a nice, easy customer here, though, so we can keep it moving, and we can go ahead to the quote phase. We're happy with our design. If we had multiple different projects that we had created for this customer, we can select them from the toggle right down there. But Mr. Stephen Gomez is nice and easy. So we select the project that we want to move forward with and the financing type. The contract term for PPA is always going to be 25 years. So all I have to do is select the escalator. We'll go ahead and say that Mr. Stephen Gomez wants a 2.9% escalator with some savings up front. He's going to be moving in about 5 years or so it makes sense. Then we can enter the rate that we want to offer Mr. Stephen Gomez as our solar proposal. He's in PSE&G territory. He's likely paying something around like 19 and a half cents or so. So 14 cents should give him a nice little saving margin right there. Now that that's generated, it's going to pop out. This is more of an employee-facing reference right here, but this will show you some of the details about that quote that's been generated. 25-year term. This is the overall install cost, the install cost per watt, the homeowner's monthly payments, and then the rate escalators and some other really important specifics about this project right there. We're happy with it. We think that Mr. Stephen Gomez is going to be really happy with a $133 monthly bill. So we can go ahead and move forward and generate a proposal for him. The first thing that we have to do is just add a quote, select the quote. It's only the one quote. Mr. Stephen Gomez is nice and easy. Now that we have our quote, we just want to make sure that the template is the correct template that we want to show him. Your leadership and your marketing design team will come up with a couple different specific templates. They'll let you know which ones that you should be moving forward with, but you can toggle it on, make sure it's correct. And then once you're happy with that, you can click the generate and send it on over, or you can review it with the customer live. If you want to take a look at it with them, generate it, email it to send it over. Now, you can add up to 3 different quotes in a single proposal. If your customer was, let's say, like a little bit stuck about a couple different options, you can put them all together so that you can compare and contrast. But if there are different designs, like 2 totally different projects that you created, you would have to add a new proposal and add those quotes for the second project, for example. Then you can take a look at those 2 different proposals. Mr. Stephen Gomez is nice and easy. He's happy with the one proposal. He's cool with $133, so we can keep it moving. Onto the qualifications tab. The really cool thing about our platform is you only have to run one soft credit check or one pre-qual that will give you the eligibility for our suite of products. So you would only have to run one soft credit check to see what they're eligible for, and you would either send it to them via email or you can complete it in person. I'm going to complete this one in person so that we can take a quick look together at what that looks like. It's going to pop up here. You'll see the initial credit application. It's going to automatically populate with some of the contact information that you had entered in the earlier stages. All you have to do is enter that homeowner's income. Let's say Mr. Stephen Gomez is making a nice $250, their birth date, and then move on down to enter their Social Security. Once that's all done, if they're applying with the co-applicant, you would just have to toggle on applying with the co-applicant and fill out their information as well. But we're pretty confident about Mr. Stephen Gomez. There are 2 different consent forms that need to be reviewed and toggled on with the customer. So you do have to open them and review them with the customer. The first one is just an e-signature consent. The second one is a credit consent. Once those 2 are opened and viewed with the customer, you can toggle them on and check the boxes. Once all boxes are checked, everything is looking good, you can go ahead and click the blue "Yes, I authorize this credit check" button. You should be receiving a credit response back in about 30 seconds or so, likely a little bit less. You can go ahead and close out some of those tabs in the meantime. And once that is submitted, you'll get the submitted button and you can come back to your suite. You'll see here that this says that the credit check has been initiated. You can go ahead and click the refresh button and it should give you your response. So now that we have the response back, we can see that Mr. Stephen Gomez was approved for his EverFixed product. So we're happy days there. We can go ahead and sell Mr. Stephen Gomez his PPA. The only issue, however, is you can take a look. We also run a title check while we do the soft credit check as well. So this is approved right now because Mr. Stephen Gomez is our straw man for all intents and purposes. So he keeps our life nice and simple. But we can see here under the documents tab that there is a different homeowner that's listed here that's not Mr. Stephen Gomez. So I would need to add this person onto the title as well, or onto the contract as well, so that we can have title information. If this was a normal circumstance, this would have a red X over it, and I would have a comment here that said that Mr. Stephen Gomez is not on the title of the home, but his credit decision is approved. So we need to make sure that we add so-and-so onto the title of the home, or we would have a mismatch. So please pay very close attention to some of these little green or red or blue or yellow icons that pop up after the qualification phase. This is going to save sometimes days on the back end, and it's definitely going to avoid having to follow up with your homeowner post your initial sale. We want to avoid that at all costs. But Mr. Stephen Gomez is nice and easy. They approve credit. He's very excited and he's very happy, so we can move forward to the contract phase. Now that we're at the contract phase, all we have to do is select the quote that we want to generate a contract for. We select it. What this is going to do is it's going to start generating the DocuSign. So we can see here that this is going to first go to Mr. Stephen Gomez. He's going to fill it out, and they're going to sign it, and then it's going to come back to Mr. David Ellis, who is countersigning the agreement on our end over here. Typically, that would be going back to one of your employees. But once that's all good, everything is looking great, you can click the blue Send e-sign button in the top right-hand corner. This is going to send the homeowner a DocuSign email that they need to complete on their own end through their email address for verification purposes. Once it's been completed, you will receive a notification that it's been signed and everything's good to go. You can also take a look down here to see the documents that are included in that e-signature packet or that DocuSign packet that's being sent over to them. Disclosure form, New Jersey PPA, and a welcome call. So make sure that you're reviewing that welcome call script with the homeowner once everything's been signed and good to go. Once that customer agreement signed and the welcome call is signed, the operations phase will start lighting up. You'll see that the customer agreement will have a nice little check mark next to it. The welcome call will have a nice little check mark next to it, and then we can go ahead and upload the shade study. The shade study is very nice and very easy to obtain because we had that project sunroof data. All we'd have to do is come back to the project phase, and we can go ahead and click the download shading qualification from the bottom right-hand corner right there. We can download it directly to our computer, come back here, upload it under the operations phase, and we can keep everything moving. That is it for Mr. Stephen Gomez and the very happy scenario. Unfortunately, Stephen Gomez is not real, and it won't be happy 100% all of the time. So I'm going to hand this off to Rob. We're going to take a look at a really quick project on what something would look like if it did not have access to Project Sunroof, our tools and stuff that we have available and how to combat that. And then we'll jump back in here to see what that would look like and some of the adverse actions we would have to take after using some of our extra tools.
All right, great. Thanks, Nick. And thank you for that walkthrough. That was great. Before I get into this other design I just brought up here, I'll just add a quick note. I'm sure many of you out there at this point have plenty of questions. We are going to stick around today for really as long as we can to go through an extensive Q&A session. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I do think the Q&A is open at this point, and we'll take probably about an hour or so after the call to go through those in as much detail as we can. So let's jump back and let's talk about what to do if there isn't Project Sunroof data and you don't have shading data, which essentially means that your production is off, which means that your pricing is off, which means that you're probably going to need a change order later downstream if we get this wrong on the front end. So first of all, to start, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the production tolerance concept of when we would need a change order and kind of how this all works based on your experience with Sunrun. Everbright's production tolerance is -5% or +10%. So Freedom is going to do everything we can to get it within that range by adding modules or making other changes to make it so that we don't require a change order. Of course, that would have an impact on the PPW. But if ever we can't get within that -5 plus 10% tolerance, you would need a change order, and we'd have to go back to the customer and of course get that signed. So this is very important to get correct. So as Nick was showing, what you can see here is we do have Project Sunroof in this example, but let's just assume for a second that we didn't have it. On each of these arrays, you can see that there is a Use Sunroof button. So I'm just going to assume that it's not available. I'm going to turn it off on each of these arrays. So what you based on the shade and kind of what you can see on the house, if you're looking at a due south house with no shading, there's a pretty good chance that that's going to be high 90s. If you're in Massachusetts and it's in a forest, that's going to be very low shading. But I think it's very much a guess at what it is without actually designing a system. So every one of your dealerships will probably do this a little bit differently. There's a few different tools and processes that you can employ to solve for this example. But the one that we're going to talk about right now is utilizing Aurora to get an actual shading estimate that is very, very reliable. Aurora is going to be the tool that we're going to use after the sale to provide an approved shade study to Everbright. So we're going to do that on every single project. And so I think it would be a good idea for continuity for you guys to use Aurora as well. So what you can do as you normally would if you want to create an Aurora design is you go into the Freedom Lightspeed platform and add a lead. I've already done that here for this customer, so I've just created a proposal. And so let's jump over to sales mode. And so what I've done is I've essentially just recreated this same system that I'm building in Everbright, try to get it as close as possible to what we see. You can see there's a little bit of encroachment on fire pathways in this example, but just for the sake of providing an example, I'm just going to go ahead and build this exactly as I did in Everbright. So once I build this, there's a shade study that can be downloaded on the back end. Now that shade study is not available in Aurora. However, there's a few avenues that you can get there. Number one is we do have a custom role that some users within your dealership likely have that does provide design mode access. You'll be able, for those that have that custom role, you can click go to design mode. That is not a role that we give to everybody, but management and certain users would have that to be able to click and basically get to the design mode side of Aurora that Freedom post-sale team would have. If you don't have design mode or you don't have a process internally within your dealership to get there, you can lean on Aurora support. So if you click on this little life preserver up in the top right and go to live chat, this window will pop up, and we have Aurora support has agreed to provide these shade studies to us upon request. By the way, here's what the shade study would look like. So it gives each array, and it shows the solar access percentage for each of those arrays. So it numbers the arrays as well, so you can see which is which. So once you get your hands on the shade study, it's pretty easy. You go back to Everbright, and you're going to go ahead and enter the shading percentages here in the tool. So you have to do this by array, as I believe Nick mentioned earlier. And you can do it either the yearly average, or you can click monthly details and add it for each month as it's broken down here in the shade study. So whatever is easier for you, you can do. It's obviously more accurate putting it in monthly, but if you're looking for quick and dirty, you can just put the yearly in. So once you go ahead and do that, you're just going to enter the shade values for each array, click calculate once you're done, and that'll give you, once again, an accurate production estimate and accurate pricing. And I'll just reiterate that if you don't do this, or you're knowingly creating a design where the shading is incorrect or inaccurate, you are going to get hit with a lower price later downstream. You're either going to need a change order, or your EPC and your net PPW is going to be incorrect and lower than you would have expected it downstream. So it's really important. Do this right. Do it right the first time on the front end. Be a little bit conservative. I would very much advise you to do. And that way your EPCs won't drop significantly downstream. Okay, so at this point, let's assume that we've gone all the way through with your project. You've done everything you need to do in Everbright. You've signed you've passed credit, you've signed contracts, and you're ready to go ahead and get the job submitted into Freedom. That process is very similar to what you're used to already. We're not going to go through it too much in detail because it is very much exactly the same as what everybody's used to today. So you'd go over to your Lightspeed, you click Generate Project, and there's going to be an option here. We haven't turned it on yet, but there's going to be an option here that says Everbright. You just click Everbright and you move forward with generating your project the same exact way you would any other financing, whether it's Sunrun, Mosaic, or cash. Here you'll have the option to add Vivint Smart Home. You would have the option in Project Generator today to add batteries. Of course, we don't have any batteries available at this point in time with Everbright. That likely will change at some point in the near future, but not today. So you want to make sure you skip the batteries. And then, of course, you can sign documents, submit your project, and schedule your site audit the way you would any other project. So very simple once you've done everything in Everbright to get it into Freedom System. All right, and that is our walkthrough today. That is Everbright. I know we went through much of that very quickly. I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there. We will make sure to, Nick and myself and Mark, Brian, others on the Freedom team, of course, we'll make ourselves available in the future. Nick does intend to set up some office hours, and we'll likely have some in-person local trainings in some of the markets that Everbright is available within the coming weeks. But again, we've opened up the Q&A. Mark, I think at this point, I'll hand it back to you to take it away with the remainder of our segment here. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Rob. And again, we've had a lot of questions coming into the queue. So I'm going to send this first question right back to you, Rob, and we'll put it up on screen. And that question is, how do I create my Everbright account?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have gotten lists from various dealers of ours, our larger super dealers. So Nick and his team are in the process of creating about 3,500 accounts. Basically, depending on your dealer, they either gave us a specific list or we just used users that were either created in the last 3 months or have sold a deal in the last 3 months. So I guess the general takeaway here is if you don't get an email from Everbright with an invitation to log in by the end of today, feel free to go ahead and you want, of course, and you want a login, go ahead and reach out to Freedom's dealer admin team. You can do that either via Sales Concierge or at dealer support at freedomforever.com. Just email them and we'll go ahead and get you an account. Again, please wait till the end of the day today, though. We don't want to flood everybody with kind of unnecessary communication. So they're working on logins right now. They're probably about halfway done at this point, maybe a little bit less. And so we should have everybody who's had a login requested with one by the end of today. If you are not a part of a Freedom Super Dealer, you're one of the exclusive dealers, we have not created any accounts for you guys. We do intend to reach out to your dealer owners today to see if we can get lists. But if you're one of those, part of one of those dealers, feel free to reach out to dealer support, a dealer admin in the meantime, and we'll go ahead and get you some accounts. So that's Everbright logins. We also have turned on, I just mentioned that it's not live. We just turned it live. So you will see Everbright as an option in the Project Generator currently. So this is fully live. You're ready to go.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is from Eddie, and that is, will Everbright lease to foreign nationals who have a tax ID number instead of a social security number? Nick, do you want to go ahead and take that one?
Sure. Unfortunately, it's going to be short and sweet. It's going to be no. It will be just the social security number at this time. I can kind of piggyback this on with one of the other questions that I saw there, where it said, do we need to list the entire social security number? It's technically listed as optional, so it's not overly necessary to be including the social security number. We can find that homeowner's credit profile based upon their name and address. But I'd be very careful about not including the social security number because we might not be able to find that homeowner if they have a very generic name.
All right. Thank you so much. Our next question is for Paige, and that is, are there any plans in coming to Florida, specifically FPL and LCEC?
Thank you. At this time, this is also an easy answer. It is on the roadmap. We don't have a timeline to give to you all yet, but as soon as we do, I am sure both our leadership team and your leadership team will communicate that out to you all.
Thanks, Paige. Our next question is regarding change orders. If we have a change order, if we have to create a change order, who is able to initiate the change order? Brett, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So once the change order has either been created in the Everbright portal at your request or as the result of a contingent scope of work, which we've all seen at the scope of work confirm stage, the sales support team can help initiate that change order. The account management team or the sales rep can initiate that change order from the portal.
Okay, thanks so much. Our next question is from David. And I believe this one's going to be for Nick. Where does it show what name is on title?
So under the qualifications tab, towards the end of that platform walkthrough, once you run that initial soft credit check, we're going to be pulling the title information from that as well. So it will list the title holder that we were able to find on that same phase under the qualifications tab. So after you run the soft credit check, definitely make sure that the names are aligned and they're specific and they match. At that time, that's your opportunity to cancel the prequal and rerun one after making adjustments to any contact information prior to you signing contracts.
Okay, there was also a follow-up question from David. So while I have you on the hook here, where do you see the EPC?
So if that's in regard to what price per watt is being sold to the customer, that can be found on the quote phase under the install cost per watt after the quote is being generated.
All right, great stuff. Go ahead and get that one off screen. And our next question is going to be for Rob. And that is, where does Lightspeed come into play with Everbright?
Yeah, at this point in time, it's at the very end, similar to if you were going to generate, a Sunrun project manually. Same deal here for Everbright. So you go through the entire Everbright flow, add your lead, add your quote, create your proposal, get qualified. Everything is wrapped up and done. Contracts are signed in Everbright. Once you're done with all of that, you then jump over to Lightspeed, manually generate your project as we went through in the last couple of minutes of that walkthrough. Same process as with Sunrun, and then that's going to ask you for the PPA or lease agreement. It's going to send out any other utility documents that are required, and you can submit the project from there.
Thank you, Rob. Our next question is from Peter. And this might be a combo for Nick and Rob. How long does it take a skilled user to complete this process from start to finish? In other words, can it be done while the homeowner waits, or should we do this offline? It's like a learning curve question.
So I'll take this to start. You all saw that I was able to run through this in about 20 minutes, and I thought that I was slowing it down. So once you get used to the platform, you should be able to fly through in about like 10 minutes or so. But I'll hand this back to Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll get more used to the platform over time, of course. I kind of always recommend to look at these in advance of being inside the home. When I was out there in the field, I used to always look at the address in advance, create my design in advance, or at least my, outline the roofs in advance, create your setbacks, put in any keep outs and put in any obstructions, and just get it to a point where once you're in the house, all you need to do is input the usage and price it out. I think that's a good process. It usually works out the best and saves you the most time in the house. But if you were in a crunch, you could definitely knock this out in 10 or 20 minutes all the way through, depending on how complex the roof is. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we are getting a lot of questions in the chat about markets, current markets and potential markets. Is there any way you guys could recap which ones are open, and then we can update them on like what future plans are?
Yeah, I can take that one. And I think it's also worth speaking briefly about kind of how this is going to work. But let me answer the main question right away. So the markets to start, and again, the webinar is going to go out. We will also make sure to post an active utilities list in the Sales Resource Center in the Everbright folder. I have that, and I can post that as soon as we're wrapped up with this webinar. But just to give a quick recap, it's SRP in Arizona, it's all utilities in Arkansas, Eversource in Connecticut, all utilities in Maine, National Grid in Massachusetts, PSE&G in Jersey, and all utilities in Ohio. Those are the ones that are available right now. Within the next 3 or so weeks, we also expect to open up many other utilities in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Texas. When those are ready to go live, we'll make sure to send out another communication and update that utility list. But that's what we're looking at. And just to speak on briefly a little bit of the why behind this, not to get too much into the detail here, but we do have an agreement, of course, with Sunrun, and we have certain obligations and covenants with Sunrun. And so any utility that, or any product that we're offering besides Sunrun, we need to kind of run past them and get their approval. And we have certain stipulations there. So I just kind of want to make it clear that, even though Everbright may be in a certain area or a certain state or utility, doesn't necessarily mean that Freedom will be or can be at this point in time. So just want to put that out there. We're not, again, not trying to hide everything. Want to be transparent about that. This is a limited partnership at this time. And that is where it is. So we're trying to get you as many utilities as we can, but still, of course, kind of be within the bounds of our existing agreements.
Mark, if you're talking, you're muted.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So this question is from Zuri. Sunrun has a very strict policies on entering kWh usage. What is Everbright's policy for this on PPAs? Paige or Nick, you guys want to answer that one?
Yep, I can step in. Sorry, guys. I also got impacted by the mute button there. If you guys are referring to, or if this question is referring to, on the utility bill, we don't have a specific policy. Please upload all pertinent information that you have. So if you have the last 12 months of usage from the homeowner, upload anything that you can. If you don't have it, you do not need to upload it, and there is no policy. There also is not a need to upload a utility bill. So I hope that answered your question, Zuri. If it didn't, please feel free to throw something else in the chat.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Nikki. What are the hours of operation if we need assistance?
So the installer support line is going to be open from Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time, and on the weekends from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you all remember where I showed you where that little support button was on the drop-down caret from the top right of the platform, as soon as you go into that support button, if you just type in hours, one of the first things that'll pop up is hours of operations, and then that'll take you to like a PDF of all of our different departments and the hours that they operate within.
All right, thanks so much. Our next question is from Lewis, and this one is for Rob. When does this get turned on?
Today. I think I went through that already. Might not know if that's an old question, but many people, probably about 3,500 users throughout Freedom, will have a login created for them by the end of today. Again, if you don't get one by the end of today, or you're from one of Freedom's non-super dealers, the exclusive dealers, as we refer to them internally, feel free to go ahead and reach out to dealer support at freedomforever.com, and we'll go ahead and get you a login as soon as we can.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is from Anthony. If a customer needs a roof replacement, are we able to lump that cost in similar to what we do for Mosaic financing? Brett, you want to take that one?
Might be a good one for Nick as well, Nick and Paige, to speak on the Everbright policy. And also, Nick, the ability, we did get this question earlier, and I'm actually, I don't recall the answer, but the ability to kind of add additional funds, to a PPA or a lease outside of just increasing the rate, right? I remember that for kind of batteries, but wasn't sure about that policy for kind of prep work. Can you or Paige speak to that?
Yeah, I can. And Brett and I had actually briefly talked about this yesterday, but we haven't had enough time to truly discuss what our intentions are in regard to how we want to tackle any of these additions that we're including with the project. During one of our calls yesterday, we had brought up the fact that we do include it, and we do allow for certain additionals like main panel upgrades and all that to be included into the project, to include it with the customer's monthly bill, so it'll bake it into their rate. But it's not necessary, given the Freedom Forever platform that you guys have kind of built out and you've baked to kind of keep them separate. So I'm going to hand that off back to Brett so that he can kind of finish that out.
Yeah, so we do have the option for sales to include that at point of sale. So if there are any additional adders that we know are going to be included, such as roof work, those can be included in the pricing. Freedom on our side, we won't proactively add all the adders in that are assessed at construction review, just because that will raise the price. And as the sales team's aware, we don't change the customer's price without your authorization. So if you beyond point of sale, if a project comes back with additional costs at scope of work confirm, you can ask that we adjust and include those additional adders in the price, and we will do that for you, but we won't do it proactively on our side.
So if I could just recap that and maybe kind of translate or say it a little bit differently. So Everbright does allow pre-construction costs to be included in the PPA, so roof work, MPU, so you can pay for that with Everbright. I think similar in many situations to what everyone is used to and allowed to do with Sunrun. It'll operate the same way as it does for Sunrun, where at the end of the day, Everbright is going to pay a top line number. They're going to pay us a gross system price, which you can see in the tool. That's going to be the PPW and the price that's listed on the quote page in the Everbright tool. That is the starting top line number. From that number, you would reduce, you would subtract any adders to calculate your net PPW. Again, exactly the same as what you would do with Sunrun. What I think Brett was getting at is that they would not, during construction review and scope of work confirm, they would not change the rate to the customer or otherwise increase the price of Everbright, or, the rate, or change an escalator or whatever, without the request of sales. So in other words, we're going to keep, we're going to do what we do. We're going to create a design and a scope of work that, every attempt to avoid a change order, if you want to increase the price to maintain a certain net PPW and increase the price to absorb adders, you would need to request that from our team to do that. Brett, does that capture what you were saying there?
Yeah, spot on, Rob.
Great, cool. Just want to restate that, make sure it was clear for everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. Our next question is from Michael. And that question is, this now allows us to sell to businesses as well, correct? As long as the owner is on the contract? Who wants to take that one?
I can take this one. At this time, it does not. This is for consumers only, so homeowners.
And Paige, is it? I think I recall something from the underwriting that it needs to be a residential rate plan. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Next question is from Peter. We can add Vivint Smart Home the same way we can with Freedom Forever. Rob, do you want to take that one?
Yes, you absolutely can.
All right, short and sweet. And next question from Dakota. What happens if the title check is incorrect? Nick or Paige, you guys want to take that one?
So in event that the title check is incorrect, like prior to the contract being signed, the title check is going to pop up where I had showed you very similar to that table that I had provided earlier of the list of different responses that you can get from the credit qualification. The little bubble right next to that qualifications tab next to title will either be like a red X or it's going to be a yellow pending kind of dot. And you're going to have information in the comment section on like any supporting documents that we could need or whether or not that homeowner was not on title whatsoever. So at that time, that should give you a really good heads up of, I need to gather some supporting documents, whether it's a copy of the deed or a mortgage statement that you can upload to the documents tab and then provide for your operations team when they're going to submit the deal.
Appreciate that. Our next question is from Peter. Did I hear that we do not need to upload a U-bill? Can you guys go over the U-bill process again?
I can take that one, Mark.
Sure.
For Everbright purposes, or Everbright specifically, does not require the utility bill. However, on the Freedom side, for interconnection purposes, we will require a utility bill, and would definitely recommend, gathering the utility bill just in general when in the home. That is something, that allows us at construction review to build the largest system possible. But also, again, as I mentioned, it is required for interconnection purposes on the Freedom side.
Thanks, Brett. This question is more about learning and office hours. Will there be regular online office hours since there might be a learning curve with the product? How will training work like that?
Hi, I can take this one. So the answer to this is yes. We will work with everyone on this call and anyone not on this call to try to make sure that any and all training on a virtual platform is done. Outside of that, because there were some additional questions in the comment section on learning, we have other resources as well. So if you are eager to learn and you're excited to learn, we do have a bunch of manuals, a bunch of spec sheets, anything that you would want to learn is actively in the platform. There was a little button at the top that Nick was showing that has a little gear setting. If you click on that, it's called the Installer Knowledge Base. Highly recommend taking a deep dive into some of those while you're waiting for the office hours. And in the meantime, Nick and I will get those office hours set up for everyone.
Appreciate that, Paige. And just to add on there, of course, this is a new product. There's a lot to know. We're not going to, obviously we can't cover everything in detail in one, webinar. So, we do intend, expect more follow-up here, expect some emails with, additional times for office hours and trainings. Again, I think we do intend to do some local trainings as well. It's going to take some time to get everybody fully up to speed and familiar with Everbright. But, at this point, we really wanted to, because of the pricing, because of the areas that this is in that we don't have third-party ownership options, we wanted to get this out to everybody as quickly as we can. It's frankly, it's going to be a little bit bumpy. We're going to have a learning curve. There's going to be some things on both sides of the fence, both sales and ops, that we're going to have to work through and learn. That's kind of always inherent when you roll out a new product, especially one that we're rolling out as quickly as we are here. So, just kind of be prepared for that. But it's a great product. There's some great pricing and obviously new markets, and we wanted to get it out there in your hands as soon as we can. And we'll kind of learn as we go here.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is from Jason. Theoretically, I have a customer who owns a duplex. They have one deal going up and need a second system for the other meter. Can they run that in their name as well?
I can take this one as well. So Jason, in advance, if I answer this question in the opposite way of what you intended, please put it back in the chat. If the question is, the homeowner needs two separate systems. Both have different meters, but they want both of them installed. We allow for one install at a time. So if Stephen Gomez has one system, 1 meter, we install that. Once that gets to PTO, then we can start on the second system.
All right. So our next question is from Adam. Is there a resource within Everbright that shows any utility restrictions, i.e. ones that can't go over 100% offset?
I can also take this one. At this time, there is not a database in our system. That being said, you are all mostly experts in the utilities that you sell and operate in. Please use the experiences and learnings that you have had up until this point. And if that answer changes, we will let you know.
I think your mic was cutting a little out there at the end, or at least for me, Paige. But I think also keep in mind, and Brett, you know, if you want to chime in here, feel free. But there's two sides of the equation here. There's the financing side, whatever Brett allows, and then there's of course what Freedom would need to get utility interconnection. So I think on a lot of these questions, Everbright tends, from what I've seen, tends to kind of defer to us as the installer. They'll finance whatever we're able to install and interconnect. So while there may not be restrictions on the Everbright end, within Freedom, we are going to have certain checkpoints to make sure that systems aren't oversized. We can still get them interconnected, et cetera. So just want to point that out. It's going to be there one way or the other if the utility has a certain requirement.
Next question is from Chris. Do all title holders need to be on the application or just one?
Just one.
All right. Next question is from Joan. Will the roof be restored to original condition at the end of the 25-year lease?
So the contract states under the roof warranty and repairs that after system removal, the roof will be returned to the like condition prior to the installation.
Okay. Sounds good. Next question is from Brad. Is the PPA first-year production guaranteed or a percentage of first-year production thereafter?
So our production guarantee is on a 2-year rolling basis. So if the system has been underproducing after that 2-year mark, then that's when the true up.
Thank you so much. We have a question from Patrick. Is there a generic copy of the contract we can look over?
Yes, there is. I've already uploaded one. I think it's the Massachusetts template into the Sales Resource Center. Again, there is, if you go Sales Resource Center, Finance and Payment Options, Everbright, we've already added a few pieces of content in there, and we will continue to add as we get more. And one of them is the BBA template. Nick, if you want to add on, feel free.
Good to go. If there's any further templates that you'd like, we can send them over to you, Rob, that you can separate them out.
Okay, our next question is from Pat. If it is a new homeowner, can we submit a deed to show ownership? Who wants to grab that one?
I can take that one. You could submit the deed, mortgage statement, closing disclosure. All three of those are title proofs that we'll accept on the Freedom side, and we'll work with Everbright to confirm ownership on our side.
Thanks, Brett. Next question is from Jeff. What happens if Aurora doesn't have LiDAR available and that was already our plan B?
I could take this one. In that case, you would request an expert design from Aurora, and their team will, of course, build that. If you have any changes, like if a tree was recently cut down and it's still coming up, you can request changes through the chat as you normally would in that scenario. But Aurora, again, no LiDAR, just request an expert design, and then you can use that shade study or shade Shade study, yeah, shade design.
Rob, great questions coming in. We really appreciate them. We have a question from Ashley. And this is about titles. If we ran credit under Gabe Smith and the credit check comes back with a title under Gabriel Smith, do we have to rerun credit, or what is the step after that?
I think that the easiest and fastest thing to do is to cancel the pre-qual and adjust the contact and then rerun the credit. Otherwise, we're going to have to send requests to the deal processing team, and it could take a little while for the SLA turnaround to come back. So I would just cancel it, update the contacts, and then rerun the soft credit check.
Appreciate that. Okay. Question from James. When it comes to equipment and adders, will that be coming from Freedom or Everbright? With Sunrun, there is a bunch of module options, but we only know the adder costs if they are on our Freedom adder sheet.
Yep, I'll take this one. So the new Freedom adder sheet was just posted a little bit earlier today. There's really no differences. The adders are always going to come from Freedom. We are the installer, of course. We know what it's going to take to install the job. So there is no difference with adders between Everbright and any of our other financing. The module options at this point are going to be the same as with Sunrun. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, as I mentioned earlier, pricing will operate the exact same way. You start with the top line gross system price, or PPW, you subtract adders, and that'll leave you with the net PPW, and that's essentially what everybody is going to use to calculate commissions and see if it's a profitable job.
Thanks, Rob. Our next question is from Avery. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we can add the adders in when creating the proposal? Question mark. I think you may have already just answered some of this. Are all the Freedom Forever adders available to be added, such as multiple roof arrays or small system adder?
Everbright does have the we can create adders that you'd be able to build. There's a section, I don't know if we're able to bring this up on the screen or not. I think it would be helpful maybe to double back to some of the live views, but on I think it's the quoting tab, there is an area that you can, I think it's called cost buildup, if I recall, and they correct me if I'm wrong, where you can essentially add the adders in. We haven't quite set that up yet. We may take some time later this week and make that available. Yeah, okay, there you go. So not sure who's sharing here, but yeah, this is exactly right. So on the quote page, if you could reduce that one more time and just show, yeah, there you go. So cost buildup. So that, yeah, if you could put that arrow down and just show what it would look like for them real quick. Perfect. So, yep, on that left pane, there's a horizontal button, cost buildup. So you can click that. And then this is where you could, we haven't set this up yet. We certainly can though, but this is where you could price it out and essentially kind of put in your adders here. To be honest, I haven't really looked at this in depth yet, but I think basically you can set the install costs and then add the adders on top of that. And it's a little bit better and perhaps easier way to price. I know pricing sometimes is confusing to certain people when we're talking about PPA. So this may be helpful. We'll take a look at setting this up so it's usable in the future and allow you to kind of add some adders and price it out. But it is not currently set up at this point in time, and it wouldn't necessarily be the final pricing. It would be just kind of an estimate at this point in time. But yeah, we can look at utilizing that in the near future.
Thanks, Rob. A couple more questions coming into the chat. This one is from David. There was a mention that investment properties are available. Can someone please clarify investment properties?
I can take this. Short and sweet. No, investment properties are not available.
Appreciate that, Paige. We have a question from Ashley. Where do we get a copy of the contract and docs client needs to sign so we can go through with them if you're going virtual?
So back on the contract phase, once you've selected the quote that you want to move forward with the customer, you do have the option to download that DocuSign packet that has all of the necessary agreements within it, as well as email it over to them for the e-signature. So if you wanted to hypothetically review it with them prior to sending over a DocuSign, you could download it and email it to them virtually, or you can just click the preview button and view it with them in home.
Thanks so much. Next question is from Ken. And that is there a cap on system size based on the kWh usage? In other words, can we oversize the system?
So this will go back to what Paige was saying a little bit before in regard to you all being the experts on your utilities and knowing when you cannot go beyond 100% historical offset or 120% historical offset from that homeowner. So we will leave that in your realm. But in regard to the system's designs, the only requirements that they have to fit within is a minimum of 2 kW and a maximum of 30 kW for the sizing.
Yeah, so again, while Everbright may not have requirements there, Freedom will. We just need to basically, as long as we can get interconnection with the utility company, we're going to be okay. So whether that mean, in this example, mean a square foot calculation or a load justification form, whatever it means for that specific utility, as long as we can get it approved and interconnected, Everbright's going to be okay with it. So again, I think main takeaway here is, Everbright is going to be a lot more sales friendly in regards to proof of usage and not having as many stringent requirements as some of you are used to. At the same time, Freedom still needs to make sure that we can get it interconnected. So don't sell jobs that are good to build. Don't oversize it to a point where the utility is not going to approve, or else we're still going to have problems. But you do have a little bit more flexibility with Everbright than you may be used to.
Thanks, Rob. Next question is, what is the Everbright sales support number?
I'm not sure if you can jump back to my screen, but I am sharing it right now. And I did.
Let me do that.
Sounds good. So I'll leave this up now for another second. I did share it in the slide deck that'll be circulating out shortly, as well as earlier in this call. So there's, outside of this number, there's a list of different supports that you can all utilize as well, ranging from our email, the chat box, or this phone number.
Lost your audio there for a second, Mark.
Question from Leon. Thanks, Brian. Is the panel adder included in the EPC?
The panel adder would operate like any other adder. I guess the short answer to this is no adders are included in the EPC. The EPC is what Freedom is going to get paid for the installation of the project. That is basically the equivalent of the loan amount or the contract amount on a purchase. That is the most we're going to get paid. Nothing is included in that. From that, you would deduct any adders to determine the net BPW. So if this doesn't make sense to you, or you have more questions, you're definitely right. I mean, this is a critical, everybody has to know this information. So I know it can be confusing, but please reach out to your management team within your dealership, get some training, make sure you understand this front and back, because of course it matters big time. But I think the short answer to that question is no.
Thanks, Rob. Question from Joan. Could you review how the site model is created? Is it similar to Sunrun where we need to wait for it to be created?
Nick, I think it might be good to share your screen again and go through the request process one more time. I think I'll take a stab at this. You can create it yourself, or Nick can walk through how you can request one to be made for you, similar to Sunrun or Aurora, but you can draw the outlines of the roof yourself if you wanted to.
Yeah, so I know that we were moving a little bit fast during the stage, so please refer back to the video when it's being sent out for everybody. And then we're also going to be setting up additional office hours where we can kind of spend a little bit more time to go in depth and kind of answer questions live as it's happening. But when there's Project Sunroof data, you'll notice that it's available and activated when you see it in the bottom right-hand corner over here. you can go ahead and click the Launch Auto Design button. What that auto design will do is it's going to outline the roof planes, and it will create a solar system based upon like the market defaults that your team has set for your specific markets and territories, whether they want to be using a certain module, reaching a desired offset that's, let's say, less than 100%, so on and so forth. In the event that there was not any auto design options, that we didn't have Project Sunroof, all you would do is just start by designing the system. You would click on the first little corner of the roof plane that you want to draw on, and then just go ahead and just complete that roof, and then kind of go on from there.
Thanks so much for doing those screen shares. They're incredibly helpful, and they'll be included in the recording when we send this out. So thank you so much, Nick. We do have another question, a couple more questions in. So we're getting to the end of our question bank. Again, we say this in every one of our webinars. You can email us at producteducation@freedomforever.com. We will make sure that all the questions that were not answered get sent to the appropriate folks that can answer them, and we'll respond via an email, especially if there's something very specific that you didn't feel comfortable asking or didn't want it on screen. That's the best place to reach us as well, at producteducation@freedomforever. We have a question from Peter about other energy efficient upgrades. Can we include other energy efficiency upgrades like HVAC or miscellaneous things like windows and insulation? Who wants that one?
I will take this one.
Go
ahead.
Mind, actually, because that'll be more on our side, I think, than yours. Well, I guess might have two different answers. I think even if Everbright allows them, which Paige can answer better than I can, Freedom would not install those items. Freedom, again, just as a reminder, we as a business will install solar and anything it takes to be able to install the solar, but we do not install other upgrades like the ones you're asking about. But Paige, go ahead. Not sure if Everbright has a different answer.
We have the same answer, so I'm happy to.
All right. Okay. Question from David. Are customers eligible for potential REC credits if available, or do they waive that in the contract?
I can take this. So for in states that RECs are going to be available, all of these products are going to be TPO, third-party ownership. So in that case, it would not be eligible for the homeowner specifically.
Okay. Appreciate that. We do have a question. Well, we got one last question here we'll approve and send through. And that is about offering rebates. Can we offer cash back? If so, how much? Who wants to take that one?
I can take that one. Yes, we can offer cash back. The maximum is going to be a $2,000 rebate on the scope of work.
Right. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you so much. And with that, we are at about 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've reached the end. Again, thank you for our amazing panel of guest speakers who are here to answer every single one of these questions. We're so grateful. This will be uploaded to our video library and sent out via email, hopefully later this afternoon. So if you didn't get any of your questions answered, make sure you reach out to us, review the recording. This is a great one. And again, thank you to all of our guest speakers. We are so thankful for this webinar series and for how well it's going. For all of our guest speakers, I'm Mark Lennox. We're going to go ahead and head out now.